Hi everyone, and welcome back to Save the Panel. Today we have something a little different. We have an HSM200 Z-Wave multi-sensor from HomeSeer. We're going to take this out of the box. We're going to test it and see what it's all about. And you may ask yourself, why in the world is Darren evaluating a HomeSeer sensor? Isn't he a Zooz guy? Yeah, primarily. But I was intrigued. There was someone in a online post that wanted to get this to work with a Zooz Z-Box and was having some heartache, kind of blaming, I think, well, at least I was reading into it, the Z-Box. But let's see what this thing has to offer and see how it works. We'll probably look at Home Assistant and Z-Box as well. And of course, I'll always run it through the IQ4 panel, but I don't have any expectations of functionality, since as we know, the IQ4s do not like any sensors that are Z-Wave based. So we'll give it a try and see what we have. Okay, so first of all, let's take this out of the box and see what we have here. So it is pretty basic. This device must be a little older. I need to look up the manufacturing date of it when it came out, but it is Z-Wave Plus. We do have S2 because we have a DSK here. It is plug-in, no battery, but it does do multifunction. This is a motion sensor. It is also a temperature sensor. It also lights up in various colors. So the claim to fame here is that you can have events happen in your house and this will light up or in a certain color to help you identify them. And it is nice because, I think we're all kind of tired of a lot of batteries in our house. So if we could have something that plugs into an outlet, just hangs out there and tells you presence in a room, hey, why not? But this device really is meant for HomeSeer. And from what I can gather from HomeSeer is a little bit of a closed community. I'm not sure it's fully open Z-Wave and the way that Z-Wave was intended to be a standard, but we'll get into that. So here we have the documentation that came with the HomeSeer sensor, and what's interesting here is, for non-HomeSeer systems, it claims it's Z-Wave certified. It should work with any system controller, follow the procedure, blah blah blah. But it does say the color control will only work with your control system if the system supports the Z-Wave color command class. Please check with the manufacturer of your system to verify compatibility. So it looks like they have a little bit of a get out of jail free card already in the instructions that if you're not using this with HomeSeer, you may have various levels of happiness. But we shall see how we do. Okay, so first things first, I'll just plug this in here temporarily. That's where we're going to have it for our testing. And gee, I suppose the first place we're going to start is let's connect this into Home Assistant and see what we get. Okay, so let's go into Z-Wave.js here, and let's go ahead and join this. So we'll start inclusion. Give this thing a name. And I suppose before we start, I really need to pop this off of here and write down its DSK. We're going to go ahead and start the inclusion. There's a button on this side. You press once. Inclusion started. Put in our code. And we are added. So I'll give this a second to finish its interview. Okay, so let's see what we have. So here is the HSM200. We look at events and interview did complete. Okay. It looks like we already have some motion activity. All right, well let's go take a look here. We do have we have temperature and luminance. We have the ability to change the color, it looks like. We've got some configuration items, delay off after motion, dim level, reporting level for light, temperature calibration. Okay, so let's flip over and see what entities were created for this device. So we're going to look for our HSM200. Okay, so we have a motion detector. We can ping the device and it responds. So we have some control over the color. At least we got the light to turn on. We'll have to come back to this, but we're not exactly controlling it the way, you know, you would think you'd be able to turn that color blue, but it doesn't seem to work off the bat. We'll dig into that in a second. We have the air temperature. Node status, and of course firmware 2.7. So yeah, let's think about that for a second. So if we look up this device, the HSM200 multi-sensor, it is a 2.8. Now, what's interesting, and I've tried this before, and that is we download this firmware. We're not really able to update it. I'm going to go ahead and do this here just to show you. Now, first of all, the OTA updates doesn't even find anything. But if we attempt to actually manually update this, what we'll find is that it's a .hex file, and it does not update. We get an error immediately, and the update doesn't work. And I will give you a little spoiler alert. I've tried this in the Z-Box as well, and it fails. After doing some research, we found that the firmware it may be encrypted, and it does require a HomeSeer application to do the firmware update. So it is a little, hey, let's call it proprietary. Unless you're into HomeSeer, you have this environment running, which honestly, for the sake of just testing this sensor, I didn't want to get into that detail. But it does look like you'd need to have a HomeSeer environment to even update the firmware in this device, which is very unfortunate. I think it locks it into the HomeSeer environment a little too much, and isn't the whole spirit of Z-Wave that things are open and that we can use devices in an interchangeable way and have predictable outcomes. I see this kind of as the huge negative for this device. But in any case, let's move on to to some functionality. I mean, clearly, as we just saw, we can do things with the values in the device in terms of its luminance and motion sensing. But the real killer feature, the ability to change that light and its color on command, seems to be a little tenuous at best. If we attempt to create an automation here, let's just create a simple automation, and we want to do things with this device. We're going to select the HSM200. So we have some things here. We can ping it, do config parameters, refresh the value for various things that it's reading, which is fine. Turn off or on or toggle, which I believe would be, we'll run this action. Literally is turning off or on or toggling that light. Okay, so that's nice of it. But what's missing here is how do I change the color? Okay, so if we go back here into the device itself, under color switch. Now this is an RGB value, right? So if I want to do green, this would be 00 FF00, right? Oh. 00 FF00. And I apply that. Oh, we get a green light. Okay. And red would be FF0000. And we have red. And blue would be 0000 FF. Huh, well, call me incorrect. So we were able to do that manually. So let's look over here at the events for this guy. And here we go. So we have color switch command class 51, property current color key 4, new value 255, value 0, property key name blue. So that was what it was updated to. Okay, I think I figured it out. I was doing that wrong. Hex color. We'll do red. There we go. Yay. All right, so here, so after much trial, here it is. So set value of a Z-Wave value, command class color switch, property hex color, and needs the pound sign and the hex code. So we can use this to change our colors. There we go, green. So, in Home Assistant, it looks like you do have control of that of the color of the LED, which is great. You certainly have the input from the device. So I think this thing is, for the most part, fully functional in Home Assistant. It's just you're not going to be able to upgrade the firmware unless you have some HomeSeer or one of its components. So let's go back and let's take a look at this in the Z-Box, which was really the subject of the person online who asked the question. Hey, I bought this thing. You know, I thought the Z-Box was open, an open standard. Why doesn't it work in the Z-Box? Let's see what's happening over there. Okay, here we are in the Z-Box. We're going to go ahead and add this guy. Press the button. Okay, so what we see here is that the Z-Box detected everything. We've got the motion sensor, the temp sensor, light sensor, color controller, and a switch to take care of the light on the front. So let's just go ahead and finish setting these up. So call these the HSM200. Okay, here they are. Very nice. So we have our motion sensor. It is indeed detecting motion. Look at that, fantastic. We have a temp sensor. It is 74 degrees in here, which is crazy because usually it's freezing in this office, but that is actually reading a little high. I have 70 degrees here on the bench, but oh, there's a little heat coming off of this. Yeah, who knows? Light sensor, the lights are on in here. It says 34%. It is a little dim. Let's turn a light on here. Full brightness. I wonder how long it's going to take to update. Looks like luminance reports are set every 60 seconds. So we may need to wait a second to see this amount come up. Well, we'll come back to that. And then we have the color controller. Sorry. So and I have played with this earlier, so you see some other preset colors here. Now, what I found with this and the Z-Box is as you click some of these, you get some behavior. As you can see, blue is kind of aqua. The red shows up as clear. The green shows up as clear, and yellow doesn't seem to do much. But if you were to create your own presets, it works a little better. There I can actually get a yellow. I can get a blue. I can get kind of a red, looks more like a purple, and then that's a little bit more of a red. So what I found with the Z-Box is if you create these, you can at least manually control them. Some of the, like off and on, does not have an effect, but if we go to the multi-level switch and change the levels, sometimes, and I'm not able to do it right now, there you go, off. Off and on may work. There we go, it does work now, okay. In my previous testing, it was intermittent. So you do have at least manual control. So from here, from the device's side, it looks like you have full control of the HSM200. But what happens when you go to do automations? Let's take a look at that. But first, I'm curious, this light sensor. Light sensor still hasn't changed from 34%. That's very interesting. Let's send luminance reports every 1 minute. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, we may have to come back to that. Okay, so if we go into scenes, and let's create a scene for this, and we'll just start with a block scene. And we'll try to look at this one device. So we're here on the test bench, and so we see the color controller and the multi-level switch. So if we go to color controller and try to set a color, and remember these first few were the presets and then mine were on the bottom. So I'm going to go with my red like color here, and try to trigger this. Oh, and we do have red there. So if I go to blue and I were to trigger this, now we don't have a change in color, right? So maybe yellow. Yeah, so it definitely is not controlling that light. And digging into this, I think the issue, and of course this folks at Zooz can tell me, but I believe what has to happen here is we need a template in the Zooz Z-Box for this particular device because of the way it is actually sending those commands. So if we were to dig down into the history, say, you can see all of these attempts that I've made, right? So we're, we're setting a color, right? We are, trying to set a value. But if you try this, okay, whereas here, if I were to set this color, it does work. So let's look at the history there. What we're actually doing is, look what happened. We did an action set color, we did set favorite color, set color at, and we did an RGBW value. However, when we run that from, say, a scene, we get a different set of actions that actually come out of the Z-Box. So let's go back into scenes. Oh, I didn't save that, my bad. Okay, so that's the equivalent of what we just did manually. So let's run that. And what you'll see in the history is that, again, this is what we did before. These 4 commands happened when you ran it manually. But when you run it from a scene, it does one thing. It does set color. And it's not the actual same thing that it has occurred. Now, I haven't gone as far as to break out a sniffer to really decode these packets and see what's happening, but I think you can see enough here from the history that the scene controlled action for the device is not the same as the manually controlled action for the device. And here it is, node 49. We have no template. It has various children. And I believe that this template is what's missing to allow the scenes in the Z-Box to work properly, unfortunately. So, what we do get though from this device in the Z-Box are certainly its sensor capabilities, but the ability to control its light is just not available. So just for giggles, let's set this up in the IQ4 panel and see what works and what doesn't. And before we go, let's just go in and see if that light sensor ever decided to go higher than a couple of percent. Oh, now it's 100. So, all right, there. It eventually did update. I'll turn that light off since we don't really need to do that anymore. Okay, so let's just try to add this to the IQ4. I believe it's going to be a bust, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try here in the IQ4 panel. Installation devices, we're going to clear the Z-Wave device first. Just for giggles, we'll go ahead and add the device. Now we see here it came up as other devices. We'll give it a custom name just so we know what it is. And we get our wonderful warning about, I'll zoom in on that. We get our wonderful warning here about you're installing a device that's not promoted by Qolsys, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't look very promising. We have it in as other devices. We're probably going to have an error on our system page at some point. Actually, we don't yet. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's just another device. Let's go in and take a look here on the Z-Wave device list. It's in as other devices. So it's very interesting. So we don't see any way to really control this device on the IQ4, but we do have a basic. We do have a basic association here. So I wonder if we attach that to a light, if we're going to have any kind of, hey, we have motion, therefore we have light going on. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So our bedroom light is actually this bulb here, which I'm going to lower brightness just a tad. So if we create motion, it is flashing on motion, but doesn't seem to be doing an association or anything to turn that light on. That's fine. That's par for the course. We didn't expect anything to work, but I thought we'd give it a try. So we really have no inkling that this thing is attached to the IQ4, unfortunately, at this point, and no functionality that I can see. Of course, it's not showing up as a switch, which the only way it even would be to control this light. So it's just not going to occur. But on the bright side, there's no errors. It's just really a brick. So we knew it would not be anything in the IQ4, and we had proven that correct. So I suppose in summary, this HSM200 does have some uses. I mean, you can plug it in. It will, in Home Assistant or the Z-Box, give you motion and luminance and temperature, which you can do things with. And it definitely does seem to function rather responsively once it's set up. The control, though, of this light and the ability to have scenes and things to happen in your home that have a color indicator here really are only going to work in Home Assistant or, of course, in HomeSeer. But if you're using the IQ4 panel or if you're using a Z-Box, that automation at the present is just not functional. So I don't know what the demand is for someone to be using this device in this day and age. I certainly, it's still available. I believe the device is about 7 or 8 years old, just from anecdotal evidence that I've seen online. So, will Zooz add this device and a template for it to upcoming software updates for the Z-Box? We'll have to ask them, of course. But for now, automations that regard that light are really just not going to be possible on the Z-Box, at least as far as I can see it. So to conclude, I would say that, look, the reason we love Z-Wave is that it is a standards-based ecosystem that is rather open. While there are some limitations hub to hub and device to device, this device definitely seems to be limited. The thing that is stuck in my craw is that we can't do something as simple as upgrade its firmware without some special software. That's kind of inexcusable in my mind. So this device would not be on my list for purchase myself. So I hope you found this useful. It was just something I had worked on late at night in response to someone asking the question online, and I thought, I'd do a quick video about it. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you online. Okay, so as I was working on this with the Z-Box, I consulted the best expert I knew personally, which was ChatGPT. And I find ChatGPT to be very useful when it comes to troubleshooting some of this stuff. So specific to the Z-Box and looking at things at the Lua level, I started an exploration of, well, why were things different, right? When I manually set the color for that light on the front of the HSM200, why was it working there but not working in a scene? And I did try Lua scenes as well as block scenes. And we went through quite a bit of troubleshooting here for a few hours. Even got to the point of sending it a command to dump back which actions were supported. And at that point, I sent those actions back to ChatGPT, and we went round and round and tried all permutations of setting the RGB color, and none were working. We did quite a bit, and at a certain point, which I was trying to find here, scrolling through, I was getting some good errors. Assertion failed, wrong string, and eventually I did get a response that said the command was not implemented, I believe. So here it specifically asked me when I do a turn off, turn on with Fibro call, does that work? It only works when addressing the multi-level switch. When running API post options, I get this error, which specifically says not implemented. And that was, according to ChatGPT, the smoking gun. That it's showing color actions and metadata, but the backend doesn't actually implement those actions for the Lua or API execution. Meanwhile, the preview tab is working. So ChatGPT basically told me to give up. I can't find that line in here, but it was funny. It was like, Darren, go to bed. But it went as far as actually offering to create information to send a ticket to Zooz to have the template updated correctly in their product. I'll show you that here if I can find it. Well, right here, what you can do realistically is the Zooz support template fix. Zooz can update the template so it will support those features. It's the correct fix for your solution. Or, of course, use a different controller, like Home Assistant, HomeSeer, or Habitat. That'll let you send the raw commands. There's no other workaround available. And here's where ChatGPT offered to even help me write the Zooz support ticket. So with my own intuition and with the wisdom of ChatGPT, I think we pretty clearly can conclude that this device is just not fully ready for prime time on the Z-Box without a template.